Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We apologize for the delay. We had a technical issue. We wanted to make sure that everyone is able to hear all of our guests. So, welcome back. We thank you so much for your patience. We're going to go ahead and start back up with Imam Sulaimaan coming back to the stage, and from there, we will move on.
Bismillah. Again, as was said, the technical difficulties. Thank everyone. Alhamdulillah, we really want to thank the New African Business Association of Atlanta, who's our host for this important Taleem today. We have the president here, Brother Waleed Shamsid-Deen, who's brought together these experts. We've been impacted many ways with this coronavirus, but we want to make sure that the community is being provided for, and we're still coming together. So really, I want to turn it over to Brother Waleed, who's our host for today.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you all for joining us today. The theme for today I want to thank you all for joining us. Take just 1 minute and read our vision and our mission statement, and then introduce the guests for today's presentation. Our vision of the New Africa Business Association is to create a culture established on principles of moral excellence, truth, and understanding, bringing humanity together through the progressive science of economic life based on the Quran and the Sunnah of the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. And the mission of the New Africa Business Association is to live our vision. Our intent is to realize our vision by acting locally and growing globally in business, trade, and commerce. Today, we have several invited guests and industry experts to share in reference to the stimulus in COVID-19 and how we can leverage those dollars for our community. As you know, this is probably the largest transfer of wealth, $2 trillion and more, since the Great Depression. And monies are being deposited directly into individuals' accounts, into small business, into nonprofit organizations. And we want to make sure we're prepared and have the appropriate tools to be recipient of these taxpayer dollars. So we've invited Brother Lonnie Saboor, who is the past president of the New Africa Business Association and also a director of Invest Atlanta, to share on the business and opportunities. We also have Sister Nafisah, Fudaeel, a CPA and an attorney, who's going to share the tax implications and government resources as it relates to us as individuals and small businesses. Dr. Salih Faldon is going to present some of the medical resources. I'm going to share a little bit about food security and what the community is doing in reference to our seniors and youth. And then Imam Sulaimaan is going to discuss some of the Ramadan plans and community resources as well. So at this time, I'll pass it over to Brother Lonnie Saboor and let him speak to Invest Atlanta and some of the human capital that is available for our community. Brother Lonnie.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, thank you, Waleed. I appreciate that. And I hope Allah is keeping all of our listeners to our program today in His safe hands. Alhamdulillah. So a lot of information I'm going to talk to you today is really represented on my website with Invest Atlanta, which is www.investatlanta.com. And just click the button that says COVID-19 Resources and Relief for more detailed information over what I'm going to be covering with you today. So let's start with the big picture. The big picture, of course, was the CARE Act that was passed in March. I believe it was pretty close to $2.5 to $3 billion in financing. And of that particular amount, up to $349 billion was set aside to assist small businesses all over the world. All over America. And the issue with that is that the requirement of that was for the governors to designate in each particular state what counties or areas they wanted to qualify. Governor Kemp included basically all of the counties in the state of Georgia being eligible for the disaster relief fund. So effectively around maybe the 24th or so of March, that was released out to everybody. And a little over 2 weeks later, as of April the 16th, all of the $349 billion had been allocated. Not only that, out of that series of money that was actually allocated, there's over 700,000 small businesses and nonprofits who were designated to receive money who didn't. Which brings us up to what's happening right now. Of course, the Congress is in the process of negotiating back and forth. Republicans and Democrats are trying to make a decision on what's going to be out in that particular fund. And they're looking at an additional $250 billion to be added to small businesses, which is being negotiated on right now. The hope is that sometime next week, Congress, I think, is due to meet again on the 20th, which is going to be Monday. They can begin to move that forward so we can receive some additional help. But I want to cover the two programs. Once the new funding gets in place, what existing programs will still be available to receive financing, and what it would take for us as small business people to really take advantage of this great and tremendous opportunity. So one of them is the Small Business Administration Disaster Loan Assistance Program, called the Economic Injury Disaster Loans, with interest rates of 3.75% for small businesses and 2.75% for nonprofits. And it goes up to a max of $2 million. And it's open to small businesses, small agricultural cooperatives, most private nonprofit organizations that have suffered substantial economic injury. Loans can be amortized up to 30 years. Applicants cannot currently be receiving any federal grants or funding and ineligible for commercial loans without creating a financial hardship on those particular entities. That's the big one. Those are looking for a lot of money to come from the SBA. That could be a potential game changer for you. The other one, and I work very closely with a lot of commercial banks in the city of Atlanta, and this is called the PPP, or Paycheck Protection Program. And what that is all about is that it enables you to get financing directly from the SBA going through a bank. I know most of the major banks I know in the Atlanta area are eligible to receive financing, make financing available through this program. I know I just finished having a conversation with one of my committee people at Citizens Trust Bank. They just completed financing of $18 million in a short period of time to businesses that they're currently working with. So the way the program worked, it was that originally it was set up to receive financing, provide financing to small businesses on April the 3rd, of course, of this month. It started with the small businesses and sole proprietorships in general. I think it might be the same way when it comes back. I'm not sure about that. But also on April the 10th, it was open to independent contractors and self-employed individuals. So just be aware of the fact you might be working from home, but as long as you have a business, you're filing your taxes, which is very important. You're filing taxes, and you can show your capacity. And if you have employees working for you, that's another part of the equation. You can also apply for financial assistance through the particular program. When you make application, my understanding is that you can get up to $10,000 through the SBA, even if you're not accepted, as long as the funds are being available. I believe it goes up to a max of about $100,000 in that particular program. So, where to apply, you would basically go to your bank. And most of the banks I know in the Atlanta metro area, especially all the major banks, participate in it. Some of the smaller banks will too. You can just make contact with your bank of account and see if they do or not. And the application process, once it gets back up, will be, as I mentioned, going through those particular bank of accounts. Now, so I would encourage everybody. One of the problems I saw in looking at the programs that I administer for Invest Atlanta is that we have a tendency sometimes to wait too long. We have a tendency to wait and procrastinate. And brothers and sisters, this is not the time to do that. Because you got a lot of businesses, I'm talking about thousands of businesses, who are alert to the situation, and they get those applications in ASAP. So I would encourage you, once everything opens back up, to definitely go ahead and get your application in and get everything in the pipeline that will allow you to make that a possibility as you got to move forward. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about, in addition to the SBA programs that are available to you, is also we have other programs in other municipalities. I know Fulton County had a program up there. Matter of fact, the program I designed for Invest Atlanta, which I'm going to get to shortly here, was sort of a model. They used our model to actually set their program up. It was $1.5 billion available to you, and it was all being coordinated through a company called ACE. Their website is ace.org, www.ace.org. www.ace.org, and they were actually originating the application process for Fulton County for 1.5 million. And if you're in the city of Atlanta, you do not qualify because Invest Atlanta is operating its own fund within the city of Atlanta boundaries. But if you're outside of Atlanta in Fulton County, that could be a potential project financing that. Right now, I heard they are also out of money. I'm not sure if the commissioners in Fulton County will get back together to put more money into that fund or not. But I would encourage everybody to kind of go on their website and see what's going on. They've added the additional funds to that particular program, and just kind of try to find that out for yourself. To my knowledge, I don't think DeKalb County has anything set up. I'm not sure about any other counties that I've heard of anyway that have anything set up besides Fulton County. And in terms of the cities, I'd mentioned that Mayor Keisha Lance Bottom set aside roughly over $7 million to assist in the coronavirus problems hurting the city of Atlanta through a number of programs, one of which Waleed's going to mention, dealing with food. But one major one I want to talk about is one that I was asked to set up for Invest Atlanta, City of Atlanta, called the Business Continuity Loan Fund. And we were issued $1.5 million in financing. And we launched the fund in March 20th. So we actually launched our fund before the SBA actually made this fund available to people. And because of our quick action, we've been bombarded by a lot of companies, a lot of organizations around the country who want to know how do we do it. And let me give you the foundation which I use to establish the program up. So, like I mentioned, 1.5 million total loan amount between $5,000 and $30,000, and it's at no interest. There's no interest rate at all associated with it. The financing also is for working capital utilization. If you're looking at paying mortgage financing for your business, rent, paying financing for an inventory, salaries for your employees, as well as general working capital, all eligible parts of the program that we set up. In addition to that, people who qualify for the financing, we can waive the first payment for between 6 months and a year. So figure you get $30,000 up to 6 months to a year before the first payment would be due back at all to Invest Atlanta. But unfortunately, with us, we've got within a short period of time, we've got over 500 applications that came into us. Those of you who are members of the New African Business Association of Atlanta, and in Atlanta, you probably received some information that we sent out to you about this particular program and some of the other things that were just getting started. Even when SBA was just getting things off the ground a little bit, we were trying to inform people up front about what was happening sort of right around the country and also specifically with the Atlanta area. So we want to make sure that our members and people associated with us have an opportunity to kind of know what's going on and be among the first people to kind of get their applications in. Now, I do anticipate that probably sometime this year, the City Council might approve some additional money going into the program. And we're waiting on that. It might be 2 pockets of money. I'm not really sure yet. But we're waiting to get a word back from the city. Now, I anticipate other money. We shut down the application process right now, and we're going through existing portfolio clients who made application to us, and we're working with them right now to see where they are in terms of being able to finalize everything. I anticipate that probably by the end of next week, we should have money actually physically allocated. And we've been able to successfully approve a deal and get it closed, money in hand, through wire transfer process into our awardees within about a week or less. And so we understand the urgency of the situation. I talked to so many people, hundreds of people, and I feel the burden that they're going through and the business community, what they're faced with. Some of the landlords not working with them. Some of the people who they owe money to are not working with them. So in Invest Atlanta, what we did off the bat, as soon as we knew everything was coming down the pipeline, the first thing we did, if you have a loan with Invest Atlanta, we automatically waive the next 3 months payments for you. So for the next 3 months, starting actually this month, April, May, and June, if you owe us any money, as long as you fill out that form we sent you, if you're on this call right now, you're not required to make any payments to us. And those of you who know about Invest Atlanta, all our interest rates are always low. It's like 2, 3, 4%. It's like paying a servicing fee. All right. And the intention of our programs with Invest Atlanta is, number one, for you to stay in business, and the second of all is for you to pay us back. And we're able to have those low rates because we want to encourage you to stay in business. Don't be overburdened by what we do in terms of having to pay us back. But we want you to pay us back because we need to take that money, recycle that money into other programs we have. So we're very excited about the efforts we have here at Invest Atlanta, what we're doing to kind of work with people. And I just want to encourage everybody to just stay on top of it. Once again, go to my website, www.investatlanta.com. There's a whole lot of information I discussed on the phone on this Zoom program today. But look at it for yourself. Download information about how the city of Atlanta is making other financial things available to assist you in the city of Atlanta properly. And remember this too, is that Atlanta is also in DeKalb County as well as Fulton County. Although most of Atlanta is in Fulton County, there's a section in the city in DeKalb County. It's also in the city of Atlanta. So if you can qualify to get a city of Atlanta business license, you can qualify for the program that we have here, Business Continuity Loan Fund. Mm-hmm. And so while we have that's going to kind of end my presentation in terms of information shared about the small business program. Again, I would encourage listeners, who listen today to kind of take advantage of opportunities that are really getting ready to open up again, especially on the SBA side, just to be aware of that and figure out a way that you can kind of use that to leverage your opportunities, leverage your growth. And lastly, I mentioned this. I have 10 other existing loan programs available to assist you, especially a lot of you, once you kind of get through the problem we're having right now with the coronavirus situation. And we're there to help you grow and expand your business. One of our programs also allows you to pay off high interest debt interest rates, financing you might have received by using credit cards and other predator lenders. Mm-hmm. We're going to help you in that area too. Mm. Thank you and be
Excellent.
safe. Excellent.
Thank you very much, Brother Lonnie. We appreciate your leadership, your expertise. I think you're over 30 years now with City of Atlanta and Invest Atlanta.
40.
It's 40 years.
40 years.
40 years, alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. I can only imagine the number of businesses you've directed resources to, so thank you for that. Sister Nafisah, attorney, CPA, working with a lot of small businesses and corporations in the city, just brings a tremendous amount of experience. We're excited to have you here to share taxes and government resources as it relates to COVID-19 and the stimulus package. Thank you for being here, Sister Nafisah.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm just so excited to be here, and really this is a historic time, and I'm excited to share information with small businesses. And I want to thank Brother Lonnie for giving us that great information. Two things I wanted to kind of add to what he said, the two programs that he mentioned, in particular, the federal programs, the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan. I want people to keep in mind that this program had already existed even before the coronavirus for any type of disaster. So when it had hurricanes or tornadoes or earthquakes, this loan was already pre-existing. This loan already existed. What the CARES Act did was basically put some more money into this program, and also it let the $10,000 advance. That was a new thing to this loan, as well as it waived some of the previous requirements in order to make nonprofits eligible for this loan as well. So even though I would say the majority of money for the $10,000 advance, okay, that money is gone. However, the SBA is still processing applications that they had already received. So depending on whether you got an email from them or not, you may be on the tail end of getting that money, but they're no longer accepting any applications on their website for that particular loan. Mm-hmm. You can, from a paper perspective, probably go ahead and apply for the loan as it existed before the current CARES Act, but it's not going to include the $10,000. It's just going to be their regular economic disaster loan. Okay. Another thing I want to say about that too is that there was a data breach, which a lot of people don't know, with the SBA concerning the EIDL loan. And basically, if you applied before the end of March, if you applied around the end of March when it kind of first went online, and your loan number, your confirmation number started with a 2, those were wiped out. Okay? And some people got an email saying for them to reapply, and some people did not. But if you applied before March and your confirmation number started with a 2, you might not even be in line if it comes back again with a $250 million influx of money. So if your number started with a 3, you should be okay. So if it comes back and we get to $250 billion, I would encourage everybody to go back on and apply again if your confirmation number started with a 2, so that you can get your new place in line. So that's what I want to share on that. And the PPP loan, I know we didn't get into a lot of the details of it, but I do want to say that if you are one of the businesses that did in fact get the PPP loan, and then now you want to focus on making sure that you meet the requirements to have the majority of that forgiven, do understand that whatever part is forgiven, that's not going to be taxable. Okay, so keep that in mind. That part is not going to be taxable, as well as those who actually did receive any part of that $10,000 advance from the SBA under the EIDL loan. That amount is not going to be taxable either. The next thing I want to talk about is concerning the stimulus, and this is for individuals. A lot of people already have their stimulus check. So they already got their $1,200 or $2,400 plus $500 for each dependent. That amount is not going to be taxable as well. If you did not get your money yet, you can go on the IRS website, and they have, if you just go to irs.gov and you click on Get My Payment, then you can check your stimulus payment status in terms of whether it's going to be deposited in your bank account or whether they're going to send you a check. If you did not include your banking information on your 2018 or 2019 tax return, I think they have a link where you can go in there and input your actual banking information so that you can get that direct deposit into your account. Mm-hmm. If you did not file your 2018 and 2019 tax return, and you were supposed to, then you need to get those returns filed as soon as possible in order to get your stimulus check. If you didn't file because you get Social Security, then those, you don't have to file. Those stimulus checks is going to be deposited into the same account as your Social Security check. So you don't have to worry about that. And also keep in mind that that was just the first round of stimulus money that went out. This week, they still will be sending out. So if you haven't got yours, you can check it on the IRS website, or you can wait probably to the end of this week to see what's going on with your particular stimulus check. Let's see, I think that might be all that I want to say about the stimulus check. In terms of businesses, I know a lot of people were bummed out that the money ran out, but just keep your place in line. And also, if you didn't get a chance to apply, go ahead and make sure you get your paperwork in order that you're going to need to apply for that. That's basically going to be like your profit and loss statement, if your 1099s, your Schedule C. Go ahead and get all your stuff in order so that when it does come back in line, you can immediately go ahead and apply, and you can already upload your particular documents. And if you don't have an established banking relationship, you either maybe want to establish one. And also PayPal, I know, has been accepting these applications online, and there are some online lenders who have been accepting applications from what they might call new customers. And also, I think QuickBooks, if you use QuickBooks for your accounting, QuickBooks, I think had just recently got approved too to accept PPP loan applications. So keep those in mind when it comes back online for that, when that $250 billion is approved. You want to keep that in mind.
Brother Waleed, can I ask her a question? I think what Brother Lonnie was presenting was kind of Atlanta specific. Sister Nafisah, what you're saying is national, right? This is for the whole country, right?
Yes. What I'm speaking about is national. Another thing that I want you all to keep in mind too, there are two additional things for the federal government. One is called the Employee Retention Credit. Now, this is something that businesses can apply for if you pay payroll taxes. You can apply for this. Now, you can't get this credit and the PPP loan, so you can't get both. So you have to look at which one will be more beneficial. But basically, this credit would be up to a $5,000 per employee credit on your payroll taxes that you would normally submit with your 941. Okay, and there are specific requirements for that, but you might want to check that, and that is available for each quarter of this year that you can apply for. And you basically use that to reduce the amount of payroll taxes that you would pay into on your 941s, and you can also get an advance on that credit too. So that's something that you can look into as well for small businesses that would benefit you, and that's called the Employee Retention Credit. And that is through the federal government. You can get that through the IRS with your 941s, and they have a specific form called a Form 7200 if you want to get an advance on that credit as well for small business. The last thing I want to speak about just in brief is under the CARES Act, they also passed, changed the net operating loss provisions. So I'm not sure if most of you are aware, but if you have a business and you have been sustaining losses the last few years, they discontinue. You can only carry that forward. So you can only use those losses to offset future income from your business. Well, now they have said you can go back 5 years, and that used to be the old law. So if you have any losses for 2020 in your business, you already suffered some for 2019 and 2018, you can now go back and amend your returns back for 5 years and get a credit against any income that you had back then. So that might be a quick way for those who have been incurring the last couple of years to get a quick refund back from the IRS. And they do have a streamlined form that you can use to qualify for that. Okay, so that's the net operating losses. The last thing I want to mention is that the U.S., this is still on the federal level, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce on Monday, so this is not for you last minute folks, but on this Monday, the 20th, they are opening up a grant for $5,000 for small businesses, and it's only businesses in certain areas. So what they have now, if you can go to Save Small Business. I just had it out. It's called the Save Small Business Fund. And soon you go to that home page. If you scroll down to the middle, they have where you can enter the zip code of your business to see if your zip code qualifies for you to apply for this particular grant. And it's only available for small businesses who have employees. You have to have either between 3 and 20 employees. And it's $5,000, and it is a grant, so it's not a loan. Okay? So that application is going to be opening up online on Monday. You need to be on your computer at 8 o'clock in the morning. If you want to apply for that particular $5,000 grant, and that's through the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So that's my little my little presentation.
Awesome, Sister Nafisah. Thank you so much. We encourage you all to chime in on the Facebook Live, send a couple of text messages, questions, or emails. We'll fill some responses toward the end of the presentation. Again, thank you again, Sister Nafisah Fudaeel. We'll also drop in her company name for those of you all who need to file some taxes. We can push that over to Sister Nafisah as well. She only works with corporations and not really on the individual side, but we also want to plug us as business people. I'm going to take just a few minutes to talk about food security and some of the resources that we have available. About 3 weeks ago, we launched the Halal Meals on Wheels program for delivering senior meals to our seniors within the community. Alhamdulillah, we're now feeding about 150 seniors throughout Metro Atlanta in partnership with the Atlanta Masjid. We want to thank you all for your support in that, registering online, identifying those seniors in need, sponsoring individual seniors. Each week we prepare meals and deliver them directly to the homes of our seniors. Also, for those of you all who have a need and have not yet registered, these are for our seniors, please contact the Masjid, register online. If you're outside of the city limits, United Way of Metro Atlanta has reached. You can just dial 211 and they will point you to food banks, nonprofit organizations, and faith-based organizations all over the state of Georgia. The DeKalb County Aging has resources as well for senior citizens. You can dial 44371-2000 and get registered for free food to be delivered directly to your homes or your community centers as well. DeKalb County Department of Aging, 44371-2000. Now, I understand there's about 3,000 schools in Metro Atlanta that have closed that were in the Title I free and reduced lunch program. So right from the start is the certifying agency. They've identified community-based organizations and some feeder schools that have opened up to provide free meals for students all summer long. You can contact right from the start and identify where those feeder site locations are, and they will have free breakfast, lunch, and dinners available for those students who attended schools that were in the Title I area. We'll drop some of these links in the chat as well, just so you can follow those. The Community Foundation is another community-based organization, Community Foundation, along with United Way. They raised almost $20 million in the last couple of weeks, and they've opened up grant applications for nonprofit organizations. The first round of funding has already been out. The second round is coming out next week. So if you have a nonprofit 501c3 organization and you're in need of funds to support victims of COVID-19, please apply. You can visit their website at unitedwaymetroatlanta.org, and I'll drop that into the group text as well. Metro Atlanta Meals on Wheels is another organization. They're based in Atlanta off of Howell Mill and Northside Drive in that area. But they are feeding senior citizens and, again, distributing the meals directly to the seniors' homes. And we want to bring that to your attention as well. And we, Supreme Burger and the Supreme Foods Worldwide, we set up a hotline, 641-SUPREME. So if there's some emergency needs from our community, specifically as it relates to our senior citizens, please dial 641-SUPREME, and we'll see if we can't tie you all into those services. So at this time, I would like to introduce Dr. Salih Faldon, a medical doctor and expert in our community, who is going to share resources as it relates to our health and the health of our community, and specifically dealing with the COVID-19, as well as provide additional medical resources for our community. So, Dr. Faldon, thank you very much for joining us. Be sure to take off of mute, and then we can get you started. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Waleed. Assalamu alaikum, dear believers, and Bismillah. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. We are certainly in a crisis, and in times of crisis, oftentimes the most important answer that a leader can provide is I don't know. Number one is the truth, and number two, it can be very informative to actually know what we don't know. As for COVID-19, there are some important things that we just don't know yet, and I think that they can shape policy decisions when you're talking about the health and the safety and well-being of millions of people in our country, we just have to know what we don't know sometimes. I want to talk about four different unknowns that I think are very important for us to be aware of when it comes to COVID-19. The first unknown is what we would call seasonality. Will this virus circulate in the fall, in the winter, and go away in the summertime like the regular seasonal flu? We don't know. Not enough time has elapsed. We've only been dealing with the COVID-19 here since about January. So about 4 months have elapsed. We don't know if this is a virus that will last about a year. Will it go away? We don't know yet. But that's important because the questions of can we safely open up schools and universities without knowing this seasonality of the virus, it's going to be important for us to know. What if schools, what if universities open again and in the middle of the winter, people start coughing, people start having fever and shortness of breath? What do they have? Do they have the flu? Do they have COVID-19? These are very important questions for us to know. The other thing that we don't know, I would rank it number 2, is what we would call lethality. And that's a simple way of saying what is the rate that's associated with this particular virus. So far, it's estimated to be deadlier than the regular seasonal flu. I want to remind us that in the United States alone, about 30,000 people die every year connected to the regular seasonal flu. So far, we've only had COVID-19 in the States about 3.5 months, and it's already surpassed those numbers. We've surpassed over 39,000 people who died already with the COVID-19. And it's projected that those numbers or that mortality rate will continue to rise. We don't exactly know how high, but the point is that it's deadlier than the seasonal flu. The point is that we should really take this particular virus extremely serious because of its lethality. It's extremely lethal, and we have to take our precautions against it. The third unknown that I want to talk about is what we would call transmissibility. How easy is it for the virus to be transmitted or communicated between people? Now, I want to highlight a case study that we are aware of in the medical literature. And the case study comes out of Washington State. And this was a case study that studied a group of church members who decided to go ahead with choir rehearsal in early March. They actually debated whether or not they should go forward because they really were not sure. And at the time, there was really no clear guidance from the CDC as to what they should do. So after some debate, they decided to go ahead with the choir rehearsal. And it was 60 members in that particular church. None of the church members had any symptoms at all. No cough, no fever, no shortness of breath. None of the church members actually shook hands or hugged each other. They tried their best to socially distance themselves from one another. Despite all of that, 3 weeks later, 45 out of the 60 members of that gathering became infected with the COVID-19. And 2 out of that 60 actually passed away. They died. So that's roughly about a 3% mortality rate, which is actually 30 times more lethal than the seasonal flu. The point is that we really have to take this particular virus very seriously. It's also clear to me that the virus has airborne potential. It can be transmitted through the air. And the other question that came about in this case, others. There are other cases that we're studying some data from some of the cruise ships that have had outbreaks on the cruise ships. We're getting a lot of data back, and some of the data is pointing to that people can be what we call asymptomatic carriers. They can actually be infected with the virus, but they don't have any signs and symptoms at all of infection. They don't have any cough, they don't have any fever, no shortness of breath. So the biggest question surrounding that particular group of people, and it's estimated that that group of people could be as high as 10, 20% of the population. The biggest question is, are they transmitting the virus? And really, if they're transmitting the virus, and how so? It's really kind of an open question at this point. But the CDC and other experts, they are firm in their thinking or firm in their belief that this is one of the reasons why we're having such explosive infection rates, is because people are being infected by others who don't even know that they themselves are being infected. So there'll be more to come on that particular subject, but that's a great unknown that we have to keep in the back of our mind. And the truth is that that understanding of this asymptomatic carrier, understanding the possibility of what all of the implications are with that particular scenario, that led us aggressively at the Atlanta Mass Year to really consider shutting down. And one of the reasons was because we wanted to keep everybody safe, but at the same time, none of us actually know if we could actually be unknowingly infecting others, and we might not have any symptoms at all. Without the wide availability of tests, which is actually the case right now, we just don't know. So we took the conservative route to distance from one another in order to keep everybody safe until we can know. Now the fourth and last thing, the last unknown that I wanted to talk about is this concept of immunity. Another way of talking about this word immunity is, what kind of protection do I have against contracting the virus? And to me, I think it's probably the most important question that we don't have complete answers on, immunity. The only people on the planet Earth at this particular time that has some type of theoretical immunity are those that have actually been infected with the virus, those that have survived the virus, and those that are still, with us. And I specifically use the word theoretical because even those people, if you were to check their blood to see if they had antibodies or immune response to the infection, we're not sure. We're not 100% sure if even those people can be reinfected again. So, for example, if you were 100% sure that everybody who has had the virus and everybody that's recovered, if we were 100% sure that they could not get reinfected again, then you would have first responders like paramedics and nurses and doctors. After they recover from the illness, they will be perfectly okay to go back to work without any personal protective gear or without any mask, without any gloves, etc., because they would be 100% protected. The truth is that we don't know, and that there are ongoing studies to really determine, and it takes some time to really figure out this concept of immunity. Now, I think that most of us are probably aware by now, or may have heard about the possibility of getting what they would call antibody tests to see if, you might have some antibodies in your blood, because there are a lot of people that have not been able to be afforded a test, but a lot of people may have actually had the virus, survive, and they just don't know. So the great hope, or a great potential possibility for us relaxing some of our shelter in place and some of our social distancing. The great hope would be that what if we could check people's blood, and what if we can find out that they actually had antibodies in their blood that demonstrated that they at least had a past infection with the virus. The only caution, the only real caution to that is that even if we do detect antibodies in a person's blood, we're not exactly sure, or we're not 100% sure that they're actually immune and protected. So where do all of these unknowns, the unknowns of seasonality, the unknowns of lethality, the unknown of transmissibility, the unknown of immunity, where does this really lead us? In my opinion, I think that until we have a definite way to protect ourselves from getting infected, until we have some type of perhaps therapeutic or some type of antiviral medication to help, if we were to get infected, the therapy could help us survive the illness, or until we have what a lot of people are placing their hopes in, a vaccine that will offer some type of passive protection or passive immunity. Until we have either one of those three, in my opinion, I think we have to continue to socially distance, continue to, at the present time, shelter in place. Now, the President of the United States and others are really pushing hard to open up things. The latest that I heard, I think, was May 31st. And the question has to be asked, on May 31st, will you know the seasonality of the virus? The answer is no. Will you know its true lethality? The answer is no. Will you know the immunity protection? The answer is no. Until we can tell people or share with people confidently that we have a way to protect them from this particular virus, the most conservative thing that we can do is to continually to socially distance, at least until we get some answers to these important questions. And I want to end by just reminding us that right before the migration to Medina, our prophet, may God's peace be upon him, and the believers, the early believers, they were persecuted, and they actually faced a boycott. And the scholars and the historians say that boycott, that persecution lasted at least 3 years, 3 solid years. So we're kind of 3-4 months into this particular pandemic, this particular crisis. I think that it's more of a test than anything else, and we have to remain patient. But we also have to continue to use our good sense, our common sense, to keep ourselves and our family protected. The last thing I want to relate is just a hadith by our prophet, hopefully maybe drive the point home. And it said that the prophet, may God's peace be upon him, he said that whoever sits in his house so that people are safe from him and he is safe from people, his security is guaranteed by Allah. So until we know more, until we know better, I think we should continue to be patient, to continue to shelter in place, and to continue to socially distance until we get some answers to some of these very important questions. Again, thank you for your attention and time. I'll be on the line to answer any questions at the very end. Imam Sulaimaan.
So thank you, Dr. Faldon. We appreciate your comments. We're dropping in the stream of comments different resources like the CDC, the Chamber of Commerce, Invest Atlanta, and just based off of everyone's discussion, we've been dropping links for those who are streaming and viewing live. We do have a couple of questions, and we'll get to those shortly. One was, for the line, if you're still on, is asking which banks are most receptive to lending And Dr. Faldon, for you, one question is, how important is it for COVID-19 testing? So, Brother Lonnie, if you could take the first question, and then Dr. Faldon, if you could take the next.
Yeah, from what I've seen, I guess about all the banks have been favorable to lending. I know it's putting a strain on those banks, but most of the banks that we work with in our credit review committee, Georgia Primary Bank, Citizens Trust Bank, Unity National Banks, SunTrust, Regions Bank, they're all involved in making sure that they can support the small business community in the metro Atlanta area. Definitely. So at this point, I think they're all are open. Now, if you run across, if you're banking somewhere now where they express a different interest, you might want to check around with some of the banks I just mentioned for an alternative. But they appear to all be receptive in terms of trying to move forward, though.
And Lonnie, if you could drop a couple of those in the text, I'll share it with the group. Just a few of those banks that you just mentioned, I'll drop in the text as well.
Okay.
Dr. Faldon?
Yes. So the question was about how important testing and in the art of war. When you're fighting a war, one of the most important weapons that you have actually intelligence. So in this particular case, testing is extremely important because it offers us intelligence. It offers us a window into the strategy of our enemy, which is the virus. We need to know how many people are infected. We need to know how many people have recovered. Without the testing, without the intelligence, we're like fighting this war blindly. So to answer your question in a nutshell, testing is extremely important. It gives us the intelligence that we need in order to fight this war more effectively.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Again, I wanted to tell the community that this Taleem was hosted and sponsored in part by the New Africa Business Association. I want to take a moment to just thank all the members of the association. Brother Lonnie, we appreciate you joining us today as well as a past president. I want to mention that it's important as a community we continue to support our small businesses. I know everybody's at home. We love Amazon Prime and shopping and having meals and food and everything delivered to our homes. But keep in mind that a lot of our small businesses are still challenged. And consider, especially during the month of Ramadan, to continue to support the masjid and the community. Make your donations online. I believe on the flyer we have the Cash App and the donation link so that we can continue to support our community. And also purchase goods and services from African-American Muslim-owned businesses as well. Brother Sharif has the whole We Buy Black movement and website. A number of Black-owned businesses are there that we can buy and have things delivered. Of course, Supreme Burger, Supreme Fish Delight. We're on Uber, Grubhub, DoorDash. Spring Greens, if I'm not mistaken, is doing a special Ramadan pickup service so that you can order food throughout the day and pick it up in time to break fast. But just look at those Muslim-owned businesses, see how we can support during this time, see how we can support the masjid, see how we can support the community, because COVID-19 is real, and the economic impact of its effect is real on our small businesses. Mm-hmm. So with that, I'll pass it over to Imam Sulaimaan Hamid for the closing remarks and the closing dua, inshallah.
Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum again. Pardon the phone on the screen. I'm having a little audio issue here, but I want to thank Brother Waleed, Shamsid-Deen, the New Africa Business Association of Atlanta, Dr. Faldon, Sister Nafisah, Brother Lonnie. You all should know the Atlanta Masjid of Al-Islam, and those of you who are watching, we are your masjid. We are your community. And so we want to make sure that you are receiving the resources that you need. Alhamdulillah, again, New Africa Business Association for bringing this to us today. But I want to say, and I want us to understand in closing, in the religion of Al-Islam, the preservation of life in the maqasid al-sharia, in the aims of our law, preservation of life is at the top, preserving life. And so, as the doctor said, it's extremely important that we are taking these precautions And following these recommendations, as difficult as they are, it's imperative that we're following these directions and that we are, being safe. I also just want us to know, as we come to the month of Ramadan, we will have this coming week, inshallah, from myself on Tuesday, we'll be doing another live stream from the masjid, and we'll be going over some of the legalities of how am I going to pray Eid prayer by myself if I have to do that, right? So we'll be going over those things. How do I pray Taraweeh? I've never led myself in Taraweeh before. We'll be going over those things. And so you should be ready for that. And I also want to just give us some peace. A lot of the things that we might not know the legality of it, the jurisprudence of it, is this thing even at par? Is this thing even an obligation upon me, right? And so we want to clarify some of those things so that it can lower some of the anxiety, but we could still be fulfilling these obligations to Allah. So tune in on Tuesday. Ramadan resources we should know from the masjid, alhamdulillah, as we usually do in Ramadan. Every day, there'll be a live stream from different speakers from our local teachers here in Atlanta. About 30 minutes before Iftar, myself, Imam Rashad, Imam Taleem, Imam Mansour, Sister Shahida, and other teachers from the community. So you can look forward to that. As was mentioned, Spring Greens, a community cafe, that's the restaurant directly next door to the masjid. So they have a lunch good up right now. Go look for that on their Facebook page. They'll be doing free iftar. It's free. You drive up, get your plate, keep it moving, as Brother Muhammad said on the video yesterday. So community members, but we need you to keep it moving when you come get the plate. I know how difficult it is to be away from the masjid, but that's a resource. If you just, you want that good food, you want to come at least see the masjid. Spring Greens has that. Again, they're doing the launch goods, so look to that and make some donations for that, inshallah. The masjid will have some dry goods and things that we'll be distributing, and also I'm letting the cat out of the bag. Ramadan, I think I'm getting the acronym right. It's about 12 different masajid, friends of mine, Midtown Mosque, Dar Rahma in Detroit. Who am I missing? Masjid at Saboor, Masjid Muhammad Atlantic City. You all saw the names that we put up the other day. Every night after the Atlanta Masjid's broadcast, you'll have a different speaker from these plethora, or this group of imams and women teachers. There'll be two different recitations of Quran, one in Hafs, one in Warsh, from African American Hufaz of Quran, so you'll still be able to listen to your Jews. And the recitation style that you want. We'll have it's taking into consideration the 3 different time zones. So it'll go all the way up until, I believe it's 10 at night, which will be basically iftar time for the West Coast folks, and they can get their lecture too. So those you'll see those flyers and things out this weekend. But there's a lot of information and resources that we want you to have from us. You can go a lot of different places, but you come to us. So we want you to know that we will be providing you with those platforms and things this Ramadan. So inshallah, we miss you. We pray that Allah is keeping you safe, keeping your family safe. I can personally say I know at least 3 people who have passed from this disease. So I can't be a conspiracy theorist like I want to anymore, right? Because they got them. And so we have to take this serious, and as difficult as it is. All of the masajid within our majlis have agreed that for the month of Ramadan, no in-person iftar, no in-person tarawih, and we just pray that you all continue to cooperate with that so that we can keep us safe. One thing that Dr. Salih said, and I'm closing, that's important for us to know too. Me and Dr. Salih had a little conference call the other day, that even when the government lifts the ban, right? And I was talking to some of the other imams just yesterday. But what if they lift it in the middle of Ramadan? Or does that mean we're just going to say, okay, everybody come to the masjid? No, that's not the case. We can't. We can't do that, again, because there are so many unknowns. But you all should be aware of that. And we'll say, hey, Imam, the ban is lifted. What are you guys waiting on? We have to be sure And again, as we're sanitizing the masjid and taking these precautions to just ensure your safety, that's what this is all about. This is about your safety, your family, your children. So be aware that if it does get lifted, even in the middle of the Ramadan, the imams and the leadership of the communities have agreed that we will be going through the month with this physical distancing and taking the expert advice into consideration. Eid, we haven't decided on Eid yet. That'll be out soon. But just stay tuned. Pray that Allah lifts this burden from us. Alhamdulillah. And again, we want to thank Brother Waleed, the New Africa Business Association, all of you, and community. I am going to say it, yes, make sure that you are contributing still in the manner that you would be doing. Eid is coming. We still have Eid al-Adha, so we will need contributions and donations and things. And we thank you those who have mailed it in Cash App and PayPal and on the website and all of that. But your masjid is still your support, and we want to make sure that we're doing for you, inshallah, and that you know that we care about you. We'll be supporting you through this difficult time, inshallah. Again, thank you, Brother Waleed and the Business Association.
Thank you very much. We appreciate everyone. We appreciate your presence while being here today. Each of you all have given, and it's been a privilege to serve in this capacity for the community. And all of our contact information has been dropped in the stream with a significant amount of community resources. So inshallah, we can close out with a dua.
Inshallah, let's make Surah Al-Asr together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal Asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat wa tawassaw bil haqq wa tawassaw bis sabr. May Allah bless us and the community. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you.